My biological anthropology issue is about the repatriation of human remains. First, I will give a brief history of what has been done to help create a compromise between archaeologists and the descendants of those whose remains we are studying. Then I will describe 2 points of view from stakeholders on opposite sides of the issue: Native Americans and anthropologists. The Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, or NAGPRA, was established in November 1990. This law was created to describe the rights of descendants who can claim cultural affiliation to human remains and cultural artifacts in regards to how these archaeological findings should be handled. For this law, archaeologists must consult affiliated descendants with regards to how to handle their ancestors' remains. Although the creation of this law has eased some of the tensions between scientists and lineal descendants of the individuals whose remains that are being studied or held in museums, there are many problems that this law has yet to account for. I will begin my presentation describing the Native American point of view. In many tribes, Native American beliefs hold a lot of importance as to the land where their ancestors were buried. Many believe their ancestors' spirits become lost when removed from their sacred sites, leaving them to spend their afterlife in a sort of limbo. Although with the enactment of NAGPRA, many Native American remains have been repatriated, and the process of which archaeologists obtain skeletal remains for study are much more respectful. We can see from my next slide that this has not always been the case. Here, an amateur archaeologist by the name Ralph Glidden looted hundreds of bones from sacred Native American burial sites to create a museum for profit. Thought of as glorified grave robbers, archaeologists, both professional and amateur, have not always expressed the respect they do today. Much of the inventory that are in museums now were obtained as a result of what most people would consider unacceptable and illegal means. As you can see, there's not always been respect in the scientific community for digging up skeletal remains of Native Americans, which may have led to some of the resentment Native American tribes feel towards archaeologists. Now looting sacred sites in this way would be illegal, and there have been worse practices than this, as we have read in the E-Reserve reading Sart J. Bartman. Also, as the case of Sart J. Bartman has pointed out, many feel the contextual value is important for learning about and respecting the people of the past, and remains should be returned to their homeland. From the anthropologist's perspective, we have too much knowledge to gain from human remains to let them be lost to decomposition and actual grave robbers who just want these remains to sell for profits. By repatriating and reburial of artifacts and skeletal remains, we risk losing out on any new information that could be learned forever. One of the problems with repatriation is that when artifacts and remains are discovered, the only way to determine cultural affiliation is by studying them. And by studying them, we can also learn about how our ancestors lived, how we evolved from them, and we can also learn what kind of diseases they were susceptible to because of their cultural and environmental factors, which can help us prevent them in current populations. The study of these factors is known as paleopathology. In a survey done in the UK, 71% of the participants said that remains should only be reburied when archaeologists have no further use for them. My position on the issue is that we are just animals. If we decide to create laws to protect human remains, we should do the same for animals. They can tell us just about as much of what their beliefs are than deceased humans can. The knowledge that can be obtained from studying human remains can benefit all of mankind, especially the descendants of those who we study. However, I believe we can compromise. We must find a suitable way of excavating and retaining remains that also respects the religious beliefs of the descendants and or repatriate only after we have learned all that we can from the specimens in question. So what makes us so special? The fact that we have opposable thumbs and a creative imagination to create religions and burial practices? How would we feel about studying the ancestors of this animal's remains? Or about monkeys and apes? Should we repatriate them back to their homeland and give up all the information that could be learned from them? I personally don't think so. Thank you for watching my presentation. And here is my works cited. And the images, where I got my images from. Thank you.